Now back to Rainbow Brite.
Welcome to Brite Cast.
Thank you for downloading. My name is Renee Stowe of rainbowbrite.co.uk.
And I am Katie Carty-Hiley of rainbowbrite.net.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Brite Cast, the Rainbow Brite podcast. This is episode number 3 for May 2013.
Thanks for tuning in. We have a little bit of news to tell you guys about before we get started into the episode. We announced at the end of last year that Hallmark is coming out with a Christmas ornament for 2013 to commemorate Rainbow Brite's 30th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And they finally released some official photos of it on their website. She's super, super cute. The only photo I think we had was from the New York Comic Con from last year, which it was a pretty good photo, but now we can really get a good look at her. And they're going to be releasing it, I think, in July.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It is in July of 2013. She will be $14.95 each if you want to buy more than one, because I know I am.
Oh, totally.
But the design is very simple. The previous commemorative ornament was from 2004, which is Rainbow Brite on Starlight and Twink. This one is just our little Rainbow Brite standing on, I guess, like 1 foot, like she's throwing star sprinkles, maybe?
Yeah, that's the pose it reminded me of, but there are no star sprinkles, sadly, coming out of her hand. That would be super cute.
But still, she is a very nice ornament. I'm very interested in seeing what she looks like in person size-wise, because they can give you a measurement, but I'm not really sure what that would be.
Yeah, good point. I'm hoping she's a decent size and not like the size of a quarter. That would be disappointing. Mm-hmm. And I almost wish it said like 30th anniversary across the bottom or something to let you know why they released it, but we'll always know.
Yes. In our previous episode of podcast, we asked that fans would send us a message, and we actually received one.
Hello, my name is Jonathan, and I'd just like to say that my favorite episodes are the beginning of Rainbow Land and well, I guess it's not really an episode, but I'd also like to say the movie is also pretty good. I mean, I'm sort of a newcomer to the series. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Bye.
If you want to leave us a voicemail, that phone number is 702-900-STAR or 702-900-7827. If you can just call in, leave us a voicemail telling us what your favorite episode is of Rainbow Brite, we can play you in the next episode.
Yes, and for our non-US fans, if you're calling from outside of the country and want to leave us a message, you can go to the website vocaroo.com. It's spelled VOCAROO.com. And you're able to just record a message right there on the website. It'll let you save it, and then you can email it to us. What's our email address again?
Britecast@gmail. So that's BRITECAST@gmail.com.
So yeah, just shoot us over that file and we'll include that in the podcast as well. Big thanks to Jonathan for calling in and giving us our first voicemail. Yay!
Yay!
We always love hearing from the fans. And I also love Beginning of Rainbow Land. I can understand his adoration of those episodes.
This episode of Brite Cast, we are going to be covering the next 4 episodes. We want to make sure that each episode gets good airtime, so we've split it up to just doing 4 this episode and then 4 on the next. So this episode is going to be covering Invasion of Rainbow Land, Mom, Rainbow Night, and Star Sprinkled. That is the order in which they aired. Invasion of Rainbow Land being the one that premiered after the Rainbow Brite movie. Now, this is going to be new territory for me because, like I've mentioned in previous podcasts, I was not exposed to these later episodes. I didn't know they existed until I was, I think, 19 when I found them on rainbowbrite.net.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until the late 90s when I started up my website and started collecting things off of eBay. People posted the VHS tapes of these episodes, and I was super excited because they were definitely more rare than the other episodes, and I guess just because they were released later, maybe they didn't produce as many VHS tapes of those, and it was very exciting when you're first getting into the fandom, and we were discovering all these new things that we didn't know as children. We just weren't exposed to all of it, and being able to sit down and watch new episodes you never seen before was so very exciting. And these particular episodes revealed some new characters, some backstory about Murky, and I remember me and the other fans that were watching them around the same time were just so stoked.
Yes. For me, I don't know if I love them as much as I love the original episodes, because those are the ones that I remember watching on TV. It's Rainbow Brite, but I'm almost sad that I didn't get to see them as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe I would have loved them more. But they also, specifically when you first start up, because the first one that aired later was Invasion of Rainbow Land, they introduced characters without any description. And so I didn't really bond with them as much as I did the originals.
I could see that, yeah. There wasn't a lot of character development unless you were in an episode like Rainbow Night where it was an entire episode devoted to a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they kind of threw in the special kids, Stormy, Moonglow, Tickle Pink, without any to do. It's like, oh, there they are. Enjoy.
Yeah, Stormy I knew about, of course, from the movie. And sometimes they even sprinkled Chris in there now and then. But that one always threw me because I thought it was kind of misleading at the end of the Star Stealer film when Chris is in Rainbow Land, because it made you think that he moved to Rainbow Land or something. No.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, that didn't happen.
That would have been cool. No.
All right, so the first episode we have is Invasion of Rainbow Land. Now, according to the back of the tape box that it came with, which is also entitled Invasion of Rainbow Land, it says, follow the exploits of a cute little alien who crash lands in Rainbow Land in Invasion of Rainbow Land. The little alien gets his energy by absorbing color, and that means Rainbow Land is in trouble. If Rainbow Brite and the Color Kids don't get his flying saucer fixed right away, he'll drain Rainbow Land of all its color for good.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we start with the beginning of Rainbow Land. Rainbow Brite is on a hillside where there has been a forest fire, and everything is all burnt up and looks very sad and gray, which was very sad when I saw that.
Yeah, it's very depressing. And I guess they're on Earth since they do go through space to get back to Rainbow Land, but I don't think they actually say. So we're just assuming this happened on Earth.
Mm-hmm. And so they sprinkle the land with star sprinkles, causing the grass to grow back and, flowers to bloom and birds to chirp, and it's all cute. And then they have to head back to Rainbow Land because they're out of color crystals.
And real quick, I don't know about you, but I thought it was fascinating that star sprinkles can not only bring color back to gray items, apparently they can resurrect things from the dead. Because these trees were completely dead, burnt up, hollowed out, and all of a sudden they are full of leaves, full of new branches, the grass, the flowers. So I'm really curious what other beings these star sprinkles could resurrect. Like, say something happens to one of the sprites. Can they just, throw some star sprinkles on them and they come back to life? I don't know. The implications, though, are pretty cool.
Yes.
And at the end of that scene, right after they take off from the hill to go back to Rainbow Land, that's when you first see the flying saucer. So it almost seems like it's following them in the beginning.
Yes.
But then it just has malfunction and crash lands. So we'll get to that next. Go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking, there's lots of theories that run around in my head specifically about that episode, in which I was wondering if it was trying to find the source of the color, which would be the star sprinkles.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be why they was following them. I don't know.
That sounds right. Since they run and feed on color, that would make sense. That they see all this color come out of nowhere, and he's like, hey, what's that? My people may need that someday. Little Wajja.
So, meanwhile, Rainbow Brite has to go back to Rainbow Land to get more star sprinkles. So back in Rainbow Land, everyone is bustling about making star sprinkles. And Murky and Lurky have decided they want to attempt to use a new machine that will transform star sprinkles into something called a rain crystal. So instead of, spreading color, it's going to expel gloomy rain clouds, which is interesting. I actually kind of like the rain. But the ship is following Rainbow Brite, which the animation in this, I'm sorry, I did not like it.
Really?
I did not, because first of all, at the very beginning of it, it seems like they used a different animation company for different parts. Because in the very beginning, Rainbow Brite looks big compared to Starlight. I mean, her head is just about as big as Starlight's head.
Now that you mention it.
In one of the characteristics in one of the scenes, you get a close-up of her, and she has stars in her eyes. And it's a cute little feature, but it was a detail I'm not sure that they needed. But it just didn't mesh well considering the animation from the previous episodes and even the movie. And this is post-movie animation. So the space scenes were to me were pretty neatly drawn. They made the rainbow kind of transparent.
That was cool.
That looked nice because that was reminiscent of the movie. But then the animation seemed to change. I don't know if it's just sloppy or maybe just fastly done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good point. Because I agree. Her face especially looks very different in the beginning of the episode compared to all the other episodes. But then later on, she looks like her normal self again.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if maybe like they started on certain scenes with one group, and I don't know. I'd be guessing at this point. So Rainbow Brite is on her way back, and this spaceship is kind of bobbling behind her, and she's trying to avoid it. And everyone in Rainbow Land, they're scared of it because it's an alien spacecraft. And we aren't given any real description at this point of what is inside because we haven't seen inside it. So this big eyeball appears after it's crash landed to sort of, I guess, probe to see, hello, what is all that here?
Yes.
And all of the color kids are very interested. And this is when the first time you see Tickled Pink and Moonglow. And of course, Stormy and Skydancer are there. But when Rainbow Brite comes, and this is of course after it's already crash landed, that alien pops out. And all he says is, Wajja, 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 Wajja.
Wajja.
For a long time, we weren't sure what his name was. But in the research from the Margaret Herrick Library, I was able to locate his name, which is Wajja. Wajja.
Yeah, we had the spelling wrong for years.
Well, because it never mentioned it on the back of the box, and the episodes weren't closed captioned, so you phonically you have to go by what you hear, and
yes,
we didn't know it was 2 J's.
But I like it. It makes it even more alien with that spelling. Yeah. It's cool.
So Wajja appears and he starts to talk to Rainbow Brite and the color kids, and he uses his universal translator. Which that's a fun scene because
yes.
It's a little hat that he wears on his head. And he says, English. So he presses the button, and in the American version or the English version, he speaks German.
Yeah, I love that one.
The second one, he speaks Japanese before he actually gets to English. In the ones for the other countries, one of them they always seem to sprinkle in there when it is a third language. They do sprinkle in English. They'll talk and they'll be in that language. So they say, "Oh, Italian," or "Oh, Francais," and
oh, that's hilarious.
One of the buttons he presses.
I never noticed
English.
That's really funny.
So he finally says, "Hello, Rainbow Brite. Something is wrong with my vehicle." And so they turn to Violet because Shy Violet, who is also always very smart, should know what's wrong with this thing, right? She made the color console.
Of course.
So Shy Violet goes to inspect the spaceship and goes, "Well, what makes it go?" And all Wajja says, "Button."
Obviously, he is not an engineer.
Yeah.
Pilot and nothing else. Although strange that an alien race would take a spaceship out to explore whatever with only one crew member on board that knows nothing about how to power the thing. But okay, we'll suspend disbelief here. Maybe he stole it. We don't know.
Early notes of this episode did say that it was supposed to have been a group of aliens, but I'm thinking production-wise, they just cut it down to just being one.
It's funny when they get on board the spaceship for the first time, and Shy Violet is like, oh, it's bigger inside than it looks from the outside. They must have used some kind of spatial compression. So obviously the spaceship is a Tardis because it's bigger on the inside than the outside.
Yes. Wajja works for Doctor Who.
Good thing there were no Daleks on board.
The Whovians are going to love this episode.
Right? And I've never actually seen an episode of Doctor Who. I just know all of this through. You can't avoid it when you're a geek. It comes at you. You pick up the terminology.
So, Shy Violet and Rainbow Brite are looking through the spaceship trying to figure out what makes its power run. And that's when, as they leave, they notice that Rainbow Brite's sleeve has turned gray. And Wajja looks very guilty. He goes, I didn't mean to do it. And what you find out is that he doesn't actually physically eat the color. He sort of absorbs it.
Through his ears.
Through his ears. He absorbs color, which is not good considering... Well, I can understand if it were a team of them. Can you imagine a whole spaceship full of little aliens that will suddenly suck all your color?
Well, that would be really bad.
That would be really bad.
It's very good that they went down to just one.
So Murky and Lurky are witnessing this because they're little spies as usual. And they say, well, they need to keep the alien in Rainbow Land so that it can suck all the color out. And then this comes the most ridiculous part I've ever seen. And that is Murky and Lurky disguised as a color kid walking past Starlight. And Starlight saying, I thought I knew all the color kids. And I'm like, are you that dense?
A color kid with a mustache. Yeah, that's hysterical. So cross-dressing Murky in a big purple, puffy color kid outfit and a pink wig. I love it. I wish I knew which color he was supposed to be in charge of.
I know, because he was kind of like a mismatch of like patio green because it had the pigtails, but the hair was kind of purple. It was, I don't know. It was not pleasant. I
do love the humor in this episode.
They get into the spaceship and they sneak into the main room where they nab Wajja when no one is looking because everybody's busy trying to get the ship repaired so they can send him home. And the entire time he's absorbing the color from the sack that he's in. He's anything nearby. He's hungry. Bad for him. Little hungry guy.
And then he feels so guilty every time he does it. I didn't mean to. Poor little guy. So
Murky and Lurky nab Wajja and head back to the pits.
Well, at first they're just driving around, I think, because he wants Wajja to just suck the color out of everything. So I don't know if they're driving in circles or just driving through random parts of Rainbow Land. But they're like, the longer we can keep him out here, the better. And then I think when Rainbow Brite finally catches up with them, that's when they take off to the pits. Mm-hmm. And there's a horrible bit of voice acting in this. If you notice, I believe it's when Rainbow Brite and Starlight catch up with them and Murky and Lurky speed off and cause this dust cloud to like come up in their face and they start coughing. Mm-hmm. And Starlight's cough is obviously not Starlight. It's pretty bad. And then the animation almost speeds up for a second. It looks kind of wonky. And then there's like a neigh, I think, as they take off. And again, it doesn't sound right. There's just something odd that goes on in that little scene.
The animation and all in this is, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't. So when they get to the pits with little Wajja, Wajja tries to run away from Murky, and Murky drains all the color from Murky. Which I thought yes. Murky would be happy, because usually he's green.
You would think. So what little color he had is now gone. And in the meantime, since the color kids have figured out they can't catch up to him just by riding Starlight, and they've gotten the spaceship working by this point with a bunch of star sprinkles, so they fly the spaceship to the pits to save Wajja, and they just kind of hover it right above the pits, and the star sprinkles are coming out the bottom into Murky's lair. So it's turning the cave rainbow colors, which I love this scene just because it's so pretty. And Wajja starts just sucking it all up. He's happy as a clam. And that's when Murky uses his gloom transformer to turn the pretty colors into rain. But that's the distraction that Wajja needed to escape. So he runs out the front door while Murky is busy trying to get the color to go away. And they put down the ramp on the spaceship, so he runs inside, and they fly it back to Rainbow Land and drop off the color kids and everybody before saying, thanks, but get out of here before you ruin the rest of Rainbow Land.
Yes, and as Wajja leaves, because his ship is now powered by color crystals, he's able to go around and actually restore all the color he had originally drained from Rainbow Land.
So I'm really curious about the planet he lives on. It can't be a very colorful place because they would just soak it all up.
Yeah.
So they have to just keep changing planets every few years to replenish the color.
Aw, that makes him sound more like a parasite. No, I'm not gonna say Wajja's a parasite. No, maybe.
I want that to be true. He's so nice.
Well, either that or where he's from has such an abundance of color that he doesn't go hungry.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
And maybe the color replenishes itself after a time. I bet it's a beautiful place. I want to go now.
And I'm wondering if it's called Wajja. Wajja?
Yeah, maybe they're all called Wajja, and the planet is Wajja. Like thing 1 and thing 2.
Yeah. Oh, well, again, this episode, like I said, the animation, I was not impressed with. I didn't care for it. Well, it's because the inconsistencies between just watching the whole episode, it looks completely different in the middle than what it looked like at the end. And the sound was, as you said, not as good as it could have been. You know, not to say that the whole episode's crap. No, it was, some of the scenes were very nicely done. You know, again, I like the details of the rainbow being somewhat transparent in space. But it is not one of my favorites.
Aww.
Yeah.
I still haven't gone through and made my list, my top 13, because, well, that's all there are. But this one would probably at least be in the middle for me. I don't know. I really enjoy it.
Yes, it wasn't terrible. And I just realized that this whole episode, I'm probably going to be one big negative Nelly.
That's okay. That is your prerogative. We all have our favorites. That's what gives the fandom variety. We don't all love the exact same things, the exact same amount.
It's because I know the very next episode is Mom, and I highly disliked Mom.
Oh no!
All right.
That's so funny.
Next episode is called Mom. It says Murky Dismal's mother arrives at an unexpected visit in Mom. He tries to trick her into helping him make Rainbow Land gloomy, but Murky's mother knows what's best, and she decides to help Rainbow Brite and send Murky back to the pits instead. This episode, I watched it again. This is one of the later episodes, so I didn't watch it until I was older, and I did not like it. And I've heard a lot of people, if you ever start with an episode, do not start with Mom.
Really?
Because it is definitely one in which you sympathize, or I did anyway, sympathized with Murky Dismal.
That's true. You get to see his backstory finally and figure out why he hates color.
Yes.
Poor little guy.
Well, at the beginning of this episode, it is the first day of spring,
As usual.
as usual, and Murky is planning on getting his misery machine to work so that he can destroy Rainbow Land.
As usual.
While everybody in Rainbow Land is doing their little rainbowy thing, they see a big Winnebago, a flying Winnebago, hover over Rainbow Land, and inside is a woman who looks like Murky Dismal. And apparently she's looking for directions. So she ends up knocking on Murky's door, and Murky is not happy. And apparently Lurky didn't know that Murky had a mama.
Yes, he's very dumbfounded throughout this entire episode as to what is going on.
So Murky's mother, who we just call Miss Dismal, she never actually mentions her first name, just she's Mrs. Dismal. She is a lot bigger than Murky. She's about as big as Lurky. She's a very tall woman. And
Indeed.
she is kind of oblivious to what is really going on with Murky living in the pits and wanting everything dark. And she's just, I'm going to spruce everything up and everything's going to be so happy. And she belittles him a lot, which I couldn't stand. It made me feel so bad for him. His mother talking about how he'd never amount to anything and about how much he used to love colors as a baby. And then you see little Murky Dismal, happy as a little clam in his little diaper, painting the walls every color you can imagine, and his mother screaming at him to clean it all off if it takes him his whole life.
Poor little guy. And I love that he had a mustache even as a baby. Such a great little detail.
But Murky wants to impress his mother, so he says that he actually is in charge of Rainbow Land, and Lurky is his butler, and he's going to make his mama proud and take him to the Color Castle where he is ruler and the kids are supposed to do what he says. And in reality, what he's trying to do is get to the color console so that he can pour gloomy color crystals in it and gloom everything out. And the kids, when they see him coming, run away because they don't know what to expect. What's Murky up to this time? So the kids, they see what he's doing and that he's murking the crystals to make them gray. So they decide to switch out his gloomy mixture that he has made to gloom them into just plain water, so that when he puts them into the color console, they actually do make color. Which that is a very interesting thing, because this is another version of the color console that we haven't seen before. This is post-movie, where in the movie all they did is they sat around and they pressed buttons. This one, you actually put crystals into little compartments and press a button and it shoots a color out of the top, which is something I wasn't used to. I'm always curious
Right.
What's it supposed to do? I don't know.
I guess it's just recharging that color.
Mm-hmm.
If you get them all charged up, it makes a pretty rainbow. I'm not really sure. But I kept getting the impression that if it started running low, you needed to insert more of that color.
Yes, that actually happens in a later episode, which we will get to eventually.
And I love how they distracted Mrs. Dismal during all this by sending her shopping. Shopping? I love shopping. So yeah, Murky sends her out to get all these star sprinkles. And the color kids, when they see what he's up to, they're like, oh, sure, we'll bring you tons of them. And they just overload her with color crystals. It's adorable.
His mother brings the color crystals to the color castle where he has been murking the color console, but now since it's been switched with plain water, color starts to come out. And he thinks, well, maybe he's out of stuff, but no, he's not out of stuff. It's just water. So Rainbow Brite gets back to Rainbow Land. They chase Murky back to the pits, which in this one, she's able to actually cast a rainbow in the pits, which was very interesting because he tries to get her with his gloom machine, and she makes a rainbow appear and turned it into just water again.
I've always been a little curious about that as well. Because in all the other episodes, her belt and the rainbows don't work in the pits.
Mm-hmm. And Miss Dismal says that, that she's going to have to teach Murky a lesson and starts, beating him up with a feather duster and we're going to have a long talk, my son, and all this other stuff. And I did not like this episode.
Aww.
Sorry. I try to find a good reason to like this episode, and I did not like it. It's mean.
That is true. Well, we get, though, a really good feel now of why Murky is such a jerk. Because he was raised by a jerk.
I guess because, this being a kid's show, I really thought they would try to paint his mother in a better light, and she was painted more like a bully.
Yeah. And where's his father in all this?
She ate him.
She sent him off to clean all the color, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't paint either of them in a good light. But I think I really liked it just because of the backstory we get of Murky. Because there's a lot of shows where you never really understand why the villain is the villain, what their motivation is. But in this one, you really see it, even though there's obviously no resolution. Even when he realizes his mom is a jerk, and she's gonna be mean to him, even when he's an adult and doing his own thing, you would think something would click in his head. Oh yeah, I don't need to impress her anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need to get rid of color anymore. But no, I guess he's too far psychologically damaged at this point. There's no going back.
This episode broke so many rules because it aged Murky, because the fact that it gave him a childhood, it gave him a mother, and here it was, I was thinking he was the bad imp or the bad elf versus the colorful elf, which would be Rainbow. And the fact that Rainbow's worked in the pits, which in all other episodes it can't.
Yeah, there's definitely some continuity issues.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's a fun episode if you can get past the bullying. There's some definite humor in there. Yes. You get to see Stormy and Moonglow. I like any episode where you get to see Stormy and Moonglow.
Yeah. You get to see some good color kid dynamic. But yeah.
Yeah. That's Mom.
That is Mom. So the next episode is Rainbow Night. Now this one is actually a fan favorite because it deals with Moonglow. The plot of this one, it says, Murky Dismal kidnaps Moonglow, the color kid who brings soft colors to the night, in Rainbow Night. He's blackened the night for good, unless Rainbow Brite can rescue Moonglow and restore the soothing colors of the night in Rainbow Land and to Earth.
And now on the back of the box there, is it spelling Moonglow with the W at the end or without it?
It is spelling it without the W.
And this is where the contention comes from. Because for years we thought that's how it was spelled because of that box. And then a mint in box Moonglow doll appeared on eBay and proved us all wrong because it was spelled with a W. And the story booklet, did she come with a story booklet? I think she did.
No, actually, I have not been able to find any dress-up story booklet because
I
haven't found one yet, and I've never seen one, and no one's ever mentioned having one. And again, the dress-up dolls came out towards the end of the line. They were the later dolls that were released, so I'm not sure if they had one or if they just included the World of Rainbow Brite booklet, which had Moonglow and all the dress-up dolls, all their outfits, and it listed the hard body Starlight and hard body Sunriser and the Puppy Brites. It was a little booklet of all of the new toys they were supposed to be coming out with, which only about half of them actually came out. But that one listed Moonglow with a W, and that was the only place I had seen Moonglow. Though on the back of the dress-up boxes, it mentions Moonglow with a W, and that's on the Tickled Pink box or the Rainbow Brite box. The back of it mentions Moonglow with a W.
And then in the newer books that came out in the 2000s, I believe she was in some of those and it was spelled with a W, which further confirmed. So basically, it was a typo on the box of the video, as far as we can tell. And it actually is supposed to be with a W.
The website contacted Moonglow's doll creator, with Mattel, and she says that it was with a W.
Ah.
The toy designer who was working at Mattel that helped with the Rainbow Brite dress-up dolls, she designed Moonglow, and originally Moonglow was supposed to have white hair because she was supposed to be very moony, but they decided they didn't want her to have white hair because it made her look old. And when they designed the dolls, they copyright their names. So it has to go through all these legal channels so that their names can be approved and copywritten so that no one can make another one. While Moonglow was always copyrighted with the W.
Okay.
When going over the scripts, Moonglow is also mentioned with the W because that's what she was registered under, was with the W. But there's that one misprint, which misprints do happen. I'm not saying misprints don't happen. It happened with Starlight in the Starlight Saves the Day book. Has a Starlight, Starlight on the cover, while the inside it's Lite, which is the proper spelling.
Yes. For years, it caused issues in the fan community. And for a while, we all just kind of accepted that it was without the W. But then when it came to light that it was supposed to be with one, most of us moved on and said, okay, now it has a W. That's just the way it is. But there were a few fans, one in particular, I can remember, that probably to this day still refuses to spell it with a W, which is absolutely her right. I mean, when you fall in love with something and it's always been one way to you for years, you're not so easy to change it, and I can appreciate that. But sadly, at this point, we kind of had to realize that the intention was always to have the W on the end.
Yes.
And I'm just noticing I still have misspellings on my website because of that.
Oh goodness!
And half of on part of it, it's spelled with a W. On part, it's not. I still need to fix this. I actually have the transcript of this episode. One of the fans, Chibi Raichi, back in the day, transcribed this one for me, and so it's up on the website. So if any of you want to read the script for Rainbow Night, you can do that on rainbowbrite.net. But it's all spelled wrong, just to warn you. It's got the wrong Moonglow, so I'll go through and fix that one too.
Well, in the story of Rainbow Night is where we actually get introduced to Moonglow. It's not really an origin story more than this is to show us what it is that Moonglow does. Moonglow is in charge of all the colors of nighttime, and I actually remember a coloring book where it actually mentions that indigo did the colors of the night. Because indigo is the color of the night sky. It's that dark, dark blue. But it doesn't really say what it is actually she does other than that she makes it shine. She makes it soft. So I think maybe she does more of the glowing of the light. The moon looks gold. The stars look silver. It's very pretty and shiny. But Murky Dismal thinks that the nighttime should be dark because it's nighttime. So he wants to get rid of Moonglow. So he tries to catch her.
I love Lurky's solution when Murky is first complaining about the night not being dark enough. And Lurky's just, well, put your hands over your eyes. Easy solution, dude. But no, that's not good enough, Murky. He wants it to be dark for everyone.
Moonglow is going around and she has her own little sprite, which is Night Sprite. Now, Night Sprite is cute. Night Sprite has little bitty crescent moons on his little antenna where Rainbow Land sprites have stars. So it makes me think that he's his own species because he has little crescent moons. Because you don't ever see any of those.
Yeah, good point.
And he carries around Moonglow's little, it looks like a carpet bag. It's, think of.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, like Mary Poppins had that big carpet bag that she carries around this really big bag of gold star sprinkles to make the night colorful, which Twink needs to take lessons from Night Sprite because he has that little pocket. But Night Sprite carries a bag, okay?
That's a really good point.
Moonglow is just as finicky with the night as Rainbow is with colors during the day. So she thinks things need to just be a little bit more this and a little bit more that, just to make things sure that things are as pretty as possible.
And I love how she directs the light of the moon to shine right on the color castle.
Yes.
Like, that's a pretty cool power when you can direct where the light goes, not just make it bright, but... Because here on Earth, that would mean a lot of repositioning planetoids. But not in Rainbow Land.
Nope, she can bend the light where she wants. She's Moonglowed.
That's a pretty cool power. And I like how it shows her special power of being able to materialize wherever. She can go invisible, which makes it interesting when Murky and Lurky capture her, which I'll let you talk about. But yeah, we'll get into that in a moment.
Alright, so Murky and Lurky, they decide to sneak up on Moonglow and trap her under a net. But she uses what I found out in my research is called a cloak of night, I believe is what it was called. It's called a cloak of night, which basically turns her invisible. She has her own invisibility cloak. It's awesome.
That's so cool!
She has a magic ability where she can go invisible. She's still there, but you can't see her.
But you can poke her, apparently. So that's how Murky figures out she's still there. But I find it interesting that in the beginning, it looks like she could just kind of transport wherever. And in the end, same thing. She just turns invisible, does stuff to the night sky, and then comes back. But if that's true, you would think she could just dematerialize and materialize outside of the net. So there's a little bit of inconsistency with her power and what exactly it can do. Is it just turning invisible, or is it actually transporting, apparating, if you will?
Well, with introducing Moonglow has this ability of just making things shine and shimmer, and you never really know where the source of her power is. I mean, Rainbow Brite comes from the color belt. Where does Moonglow get hers?
Good point. Well, and Stormy is very similar. You know, how she can call the lightning, and kind of it bends to her will, but she doesn't have a belt or a scepter. So you just have to guess as to where their power comes from. And why doesn't Tickled Pink have a special power like that? I feel bad for her. She could have, I don't know, flown. You know, just give her the ability to fly without a horse or a rainbow.
Yeah, but sadly, the only thing about Tickled Pink that was ever mentioned is that she was supposed to be in charge of the girl sprites, and I assume the lighter colors of the rainbow. She was never given an origin story here, but she was given more of a history in Germany. I know specifically her character is known as Penny Popper Pink.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the characters, Moonglow, Tickled Pink, were given more histories there. Unfortunately, I don't speak German, so I don't know a lot.
Sadly.
But I know she was mentioned in their story tapes and in their comics. I just don't know what her story was.
So if there are any German-speaking Rainbow Brite fans out there listening, the story tapes at least are available for download.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sunspire recorded all of those and put them up on the web. And he put little synopses, whatever the plural of synopsis is, with each one. So we have a summary of what they're about, but we don't have all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody wants to listen to those and transcribe them in English, that'd be really cool. That's been on my wish list for years, that we could get those translated. And the comic books, I own several of them. I do not have all of them, but one of these days we should go through and scan those so we could get those perhaps translated as well.
Yeah. One thing about this episode, Rainbow Night, that we were discussing is the animation in this one is back to, it looks more familiar. It doesn't look like Invasion of Rainbow Land did at all. I'm not sure if you noticed that the characters don't look as chibi.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Murky has kidnapped Moonglow, puts a net over her, and drags her back to the pits. And he's trying to keep her magic, to try to drain it, which apparently her magic does not work in daylight. So he thinks if he just puts a light on her, because only the light of the sun can stop her, if he keeps the light on her, then as bright as he can get it, it'll stop the stars from twinkling and the moon will go dull. And it actually starts to happen because it's a light, but it looks more like a laser. He doesn't actually mention what it is.
Yeah.
And on Earth, now this is a cameo of Brian. We don't see him much in these later episodes, but you see Brian is on Earth, and he is noticing that the lights are starting to go out in the sky.
Which I found slightly odd or interesting because apparently he's never experienced a cloudy night. When there's clouds, you can't see the stars. So how does he know it's not just cloudy up there? But I guess you could tell. I don't know.
So Murky has Moonglow in the pits, and he's decided he's going to use her as bait to get Rainbow Brite, who's going to try to rescue Moonglow, to fall into the deepest hole in the pits.
Which must be pretty darn deep, because the pits are all the way down there as it is.
Mm-hmm. I liked in the storybooks where they appeared to have had more power than they do in the movie or in the TV show. Because that's how Twink lost his, is that the pits drained them from him. I don't know.
Correct.
Anyway, so Moonglow's all tied up. Rainbow Brite is trying to sneak in with Starlight. And I like that Lurky, it's so bright Lurky has to wear shades at night. It's just so awesome.
Yes! I wear my sunglasses at night. Yeah. It's fantastic. And Rainbow and Starlight are taking what do they call it? The lower path or something instead of the bridge, so that they won't be detected, but they get detected anyway. Yeah. So it's not that secret of a path.
Yeah, they try to go through the back way, but Lurky is looking out the window at that point and sees them. So they try to get them to push them down into this bottom. Well, that's not the bottomless pit, but in the darkest hole of the pits. But they fail, and instead, I think Murky and Lurky almost fall into it.
They do fall into it, actually. That's where they're left in the end. So I'm assuming they have a way out because they do come back, sadly. But yes, they fall into their own trap. Wahaha. Well, I should say Murky falls and Lurky follows after because that's what Lurky does.
Yep. And Rainbow Brite unties Moonglow, and she quickly fades away and starts making things colorful. So we don't see how fast she works when she's invisible. But apparently it's pretty darn fast.
Yes. And I love how she puts the northern lights right above the pits. It's a little a little gesture to Murky. This is what you think you're gonna do to me, huh? I'll show you. Yeah, that was pretty epic. And Brian notices back on Earth and says, "Thanks, Rainbow," or something like this. Even though, it was partially Rainbow that did it, but it's more Moonglow that he should be thanking.
Well, maybe he's never met Moonglow yet. I don't know.
Actually, yeah, you're right. He probably has not at this point.
Well, the last episode that we are going to preview today is Star Sprinkled. This is episode number 9 in the series, and it says, let's see, Rainbow Brite has her work cut out for her in Star Sprinkled. An intergalactic con man tricks the sprites into signing over the deed to the color cave, cutting off the supply of color crystals. Only Rainbow Brite can stop this evildoer from keeping color from the world forever. That's misleading. That is a misleading statement. Okay. Well, this is Star Sprinkled. Star Sprinkled, this episode was released with the American re-release in 2004. They put a DVD with all of the dolls. It wasn't a separate episode for each doll. Each doll had the same DVD. Star Sprinkled.
And why did they pick this episode? This is one of my least favorite episodes. Of all the episodes in all of Rainbow Land, they had to pick Star Sprinkled.
Yeah, it doesn't give Rainbow Brite a strong case if we go over it. It starts out with Rainbow Brite chasing down a flock of birds and was to try to make them more colorful. Because, not to be too fussy, Rainbow Brite does like things to be pretty perfect. But I think they run out of Star Sprinkles, so they have to go back to Rainbow Land.
Yes. And we see back in Rainbow Land, the little roller coaster scene. Mm-hmm. with the cart from the color mines going down to the color castle, dumping the star sprinkle or the color crystal in, and you get to see the sprites with their little cookie cutter feet making the star sprinkles, kind of like Shrinky Dinks. And they go through the big oven and are cooked, and then they're beautiful sparkly star sprinkles. And they reuse that footage in at least one other episode, maybe two.
Yes. I think it's at the beginning of the episode of Mom they use that sequence also.
Yes.
In this episode, Murky is trying to actually get into the color crystal or the star sprinkle machine, but it detects him as a contaminant and dumps him out.
Like you do.
And as the sprites are working in the color cave, this big electronic horse and buggy. What else to describe it?
Yeah, actually.
He lands, and out comes a man named Plock, and he's supposedly a salesman, and he wants to sell something to the sprites. He claims that he has magic seeds that will grow into color crystals, so they don't have to mine for color crystals anymore.
And it's kind of sad in that scene how excited the sprites get at that possibility, which makes me think they really hate mining star sprinkles and they're just kind of enslaved. We know they're not, but it was just like, oh, why are you so happy about that prospect? Do you really hate mining color crystal that much?
Well,
now I feel bad for you.
If it changed it, technically they wouldn't be digging, they would be picking. So they'd be picking color crystals.
But I think he also claimed that they would have enough star sprinkles forever. So I think maybe that's what they were so excited about, that they would not run out anymore.
Yeah. So he tricks him. I guess it's a sleight of hand. He somehow makes it look like these little rocks are going to grow into crystals, and it doesn't happen. But excitedly, Twink signs over the color cave to Plock, which technically he didn't have the right to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, good point.
And Rainbow Brite, everyone's waiting for color crystals. Where's the color crystals? Because we have to make more star sprinkles. And Twink is so excited, he goes, look, watch, and he pours them down, and nothing happens. And I felt so bad for Twink.
I know, he was so pitiful in that scene.
He's in there going, grow.
When do they grow? I don't know. I guess they don't.
Oh,
poor guy. So poor little gullible Twink has to realize that he's been duped.
Well, Murky has been watching all this, and he thinks that maybe he's telling the truth too, because he goes back to him with the rocks going, why won't these grow into color crystals? Oh, it takes years and years for them to grow.
Yeah. No. I don't have years and years. I want them now. And I believe in this episode he has the gloom atomizer spray.
Yes.
I believe is what he calls it. So he starts marching towards the cave like, I'm going to take this over. I'm going to make it gloomy. Or is that later in the episode? I'm trying to remember.
Rainbow Brite sees that Twink has these rocks, and so she's going to go back to Plock and tell him he cannot have the color cave, and he's turning it into a tourist attraction and saying that he'll only charge them half price to even view the color caves. And she says no, but technically, because he has the signed document, she actually just walks away, which I don't think she should have done. But then Murky comes in after her, again, with the rocks, wanting them to grow, and they won't. So he says that he's going to turn it into a gloom cave. And then Plock
There you go.
realizes that he's done something bad if Murky's going to be trying to turn it into a gloom cave. So he gives the color cave back to Rainbow Brite. And Rainbow fights Murky and Lurky by putting them in the color carts and shoving them back down the hill. And even though the color cave doesn't belong to Rainbow Brite, she wasn't going to let Murky destroy it. And Plock goes, no, no, no. We need you. And he gives her the color cave back and then leaves.
Because wherever there are beautiful things, there's always something someone will pay to see. And I love when he's like attacking Murky when Murky starts spraying the stuff around and saying what he's going to do. Because he wants to turn into a gloom cave because that's what people really want to see. And Plock's like, no, people want to see color. They want to see beautiful things. And just the way he says beautiful there cracks me up every time. Beautiful things. And wasn't it Pat Fraley that voiced Plock? Do you recall? Hold on, I can look real quick.
I do not have the voice actor for Plock. I suspect...
Oh, I don't either, actually.
I suspect that it was actually Peter Cullen because it is a deeper voice. I know that Wajja is Patrick Fraley because it sounds like his Krang voice from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
Yeah.
Plock sounds like Peter Cullen to me because he has that more deeper voice. And he does those voices really good.
That's true. That's true.
But I do not actually have a
great
cast list.
Okay. But they did a good job, whoever it was.
Yes.
I love the accent. It's just this very old-timey kind of carpetbagger character with his futuristic horse and buggy.
Again, this is one of those ones I didn't see at the time. But for what it is, it actually wasn't a terrible story, but it doesn't really give a good representation of Rainbow Brite to me. Because
yes, I would agree.
It makes Murky out to be really bumbling in this, and instead of being a force to reckon with.
And you don't get hardly any interaction with the color kids. You see them running around from here and there, but they only get maybe a handful of lines in the entire episode.
Another bit of trivia that I have for this episode is that this episode is where they got the Color Castle sound effects from.
Oh!
The Color Castle sound effects, when you play it, it does this. That sound is at the very end of the episode when Twink is going down the coaster, and then you hear that bling from the top of the Color Castle, and a rainbow appears, and the ship flies by. That's where that's from. It's been, it sounds like it's been maybe sped up or maybe slowed down a little bit, but that's that music and sound. It's actually ripped from the DVD.
Oh, that's hysterical.
They just...
See, all this time I'm thinking they still have the score. They still have the music somewhere. And no, they probably just lost it all. And they're ripping it from the DVDs that other people are making.
Well, it's funny. In the international DVDs, the ones that come from other countries, a lot of them you think should have just the isolated sound because they have to redub over it. So they would have like one soundtrack and then a language track. Some of the language tracks actually end up in the foreign releases. You will hear Robbie Lee as the sprites in a lot of those episodes. That's still her voice on those DVDs, doing the sprite voices because they didn't redo them because they weren't in a language. They were squeaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a nice little interesting bit of trivia there for you. But yeah, a lot of people are trying to find the scores to these episodes, and I don't know where they would be.
I wish we did.
I know. It is nice music. The music in the background. But that's, you even mentioned in the last episode of Brite Cast that Suki Levy, the gentleman that did the music with Haim Saban, did a lot of cartoons at this time. I know that Murky and Lurky's theme, that when they're doing all these, action-packed scenes and stuff, that was even in that I heard in Heathcliff.
No way.
The Heathcliff cartoon, which was also the music was done by them in the second part, because Heathcliff was actually sort of like a two-part show. They showed one part with Heathcliff and the second part with the Alley Cats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Alley Cats. It's in one of their cartoons. I remember watching it because it's on Netflix. And I went to watch one of the Alley Cat sequences, and they're doing this thing where they're running away from somebody, and that's Murky and Lurky's theme.
That's so funny.
So we're gonna have to be, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna be trying to find all of these movies and shows that were done by them and try to see which ones they recycled the themes in.
Yeah. So we've already got some He-Man crossover.
Yeah. Maybe we could try to find, make a list of all the episodes and TV shows that they've actually put the music in. Well, that is all for the episodes this podcast. Again, the episodes that we did go over were Invasion of Rainbow Land, Mom, Rainbow Night, and Star Sprinkled. Of these episodes, I will put my favorites as I liked Rainbow Night, Invasion of Rainbow Land, Star Sprinkled, and Mom. I don't particularly like Mom. It's going to be down there on my list.
Probably of those four, Rainbow Night would be my favorite. Then, probably then Invasion, yeah. Then Mom, and then Star Sprinkled is my least favorite of those four. Oh, but I still love them all, of course. Just... yeah.
Yes, every episode has its own perks. And
indeed.
Next episode we will be covering Chasing Rainbows, Murky's Comet, Horse of a Different Color, and Queen of the Sprites. And that will end our episode review. If there is an episode that you like, just send us a voicemail and let us know. Just call up the Brite Cast voicemail box or use the program Katie mentioned. Which was it?
Vocaroo.com.
And tell us your name and what your favorite episode of Rainbow Brite is, and we can put you in the next episode of Brite Cast too.
Or if you think Renee is horribly wrong in her hate of Mom, tell her. Any opinion is welcome.
Go ahead.
Watch, somebody's going to call in and say that I'm the one that's wrong.
Come on, bring it on. We want to thank you for tuning in to Brite Cast. We look forward to hearing more from you. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/BriteCast, or Twitter, or even YouTube. All of them are Britecast. You'll find us. We're there. Until our next episode, everybody,
have a rainbow day!
We'll be back. Don't go away.